The trumpet carried no blade, yet its voice could send hundreds of feet running toward danger. The man who held it wore no sword at his side, yet whole armies moved when his breath touched the hollow bronze, my dear ones. How often do we believe our words are harmless, simply because our hands remain clean, and what storms begin quietly, through voices that never touch the spear themselves. Come closer, my dear ones. The night wind is moving softly through the grasslands, and beneath this wide African sky, another quiet wisdom waits beside the fire tonight. So let your breathing slow now, and allow the story to walk gently beside you. Long ago, in the borderlands between two rival kingdoms, there lived a young trumpeter named Tembo. Tembo did not carry a shield. He did not ride at the front of battle lines. No spear rested in his hands. Instead, he carried a long bronze trumpet carved with twisting patterns that gleamed like river water beneath sunlight. Its sound was famous throughout the king's army. One blast called soldiers forward. Two blasts warned of danger. A long rising call sent fear racing through enemy camps before dawn had even touched the hills. Tembo took pride in this gift. Wherever he walked, soldiers greeted him warmly. Children watched him with wonder. Even the captains nodded with respect when his trumpet rested across his shoulder. And slowly, Tembo began believing that music stood apart from war. One dry season morning, the army prepared to march toward the northern plains. Dust rose thickly beneath hundreds of moving feet. The smell of leather, smoke, and sharpened iron drifted heavily through the camp. Tembo polished his trumpet carefully beneath the shade of a thorn tree. Nearby, soldiers tightened armor straps and sharpened spearheads against stone. But Tembo felt untouched by their tension. When a young recruit passed beside him carrying arrows, Tembo smiled lightly. "You look as though the storm itself waits ahead," he joked. The recruit forced a weak smile. "Perhaps it does." Then he continued walking. For a brief moment, the wind shifted strangely across the camp. The fires crackled lower. Birdsong disappeared into silence. But Tembo lifted the trumpet proudly to the sun and admired how brightly the bronze reflected the morning light. He heard only music, not warning. As the army marched northward, Tembo rode near the captains. Whenever the generals raised a hand, his trumpet answered with powerful sound. The notes rolled across the plains like thunder, and each time the trumpet sang, soldiers ran faster, spears lifted higher, fear hardened into fury. Tembo noticed the effect his music carried. He saw exhausted men straighten their backs after hearing his call. He saw frightened recruits charge forward, simply because the trumpet demanded movement. At first, the realization filled him with pride, but little by little, another feeling began to move beneath it. One evening, after a long march, Tembo sat beside the cooking fires, listening to distant cries, drifting from villages caught between the fighting. The wind carried sorrow farther than the drums ever could. For the first time, the trumpet resting beside him felt heavier than bronze. The next morning, the army reached a wide valley where battle waited beyond the hills. The air itself seemed tense. Even the horses shifted nervously. Tembo stood beside the commanders, trumpet resting against his chest. My dear ones, what happens when a voice becomes powerful enough to move other hearts? And where does responsibility truly begin? With the hand holding the spear, or the breath that calls it forward? The wind moved softly through the dry grass. The trumpet remained silent. For one brief moment, Tembo wished it could stay that way. Then the command came. Sound the charge. Tembo froze. Across the valley, thousands of soldiers waited for his signal. His fingers tightened around the bronze instrument. The entire plain seemed to hold its breath. And slowly, he lifted the trumpet to his lips.
trumpet's cry rolled across the valley like a storm breaking open. And after it faded, the world no longer sounded the same. My dear ones, some truths arrive only after our own voices echo back toward us. Sometimes we do not understand the weight of our words until we stand inside the silence they help create. The battle swept violently across the plains. Dust swallowed the horizon. The cries of soldiers rose and fell beneath the pounding of hooves and shields again and again. Tembo sounded the trumpet. Each call sent new waves of fighters forward. Each note sharpened courage and fear alike. But as the day stretched onward, Tembo's heart grew uneasy. The trumpet no longer sounded like music to him. It sounded like command. Like fire being carried through dry grass. When evening finally settled across the valley, the army scattered into confusion. Tembo became separated from the king's soldiers during the retreat. Night descended quickly, and before long, enemy scouts surrounded him among the rocks. They bound his hands and carried him toward their camp. At dawn, Tembo stood before the opposing commander. The enemy soldiers looked upon him with hard and weary eyes. One of them lifted the captured trumpet from the ground. This man helped lead the charge, the soldier said coldly. Tembo shook his head desperately. No, he pleaded, I carried no spear, I wounded no man. His voice trembled. I am only a musician, I blow the trumpet, that is all. The soldiers remained silent. Then an older warrior stepped forward slowly. His face carried the heaviness of too many battles. You may not carry the spear, the old warrior said quietly, but your breath carried the men who did. The wind moved softly through the camp. No one spoke afterward, and suddenly, Tembo understood what the trumpet truly was, not merely an instrument, a direction, a force, a voice capable of turning fear into movement. The surprise was not that the enemy blamed him. The surprise was that deep inside himself, Tembo knew they were right. For many years, he had believed that responsibility belonged only to those who struck the blow. But now he saw another truth. Words could wound, songs could guide destruction, even silence could become permission. The trumpet had never touched a spear, yet entire armies had followed its cry into suffering. The bronze instrument resting in the dust beside him suddenly looked smaller than before, and far heavier. The enemy commander spared Tembo's life, but he ordered the trumpet destroyed. The bronze was melted down and reshaped into farming tools for the villages scarred by war. In the years that followed, Tembo never again carried an instrument into battle. Instead, he traveled quietly between villages, teaching children songs of peace and reconciliation. People still listened when he spoke, but now he understood the sacred weight carried inside every voice. And whenever the wind moved softly across the evening fields, Tembo remembered. A single breath could either awaken violence or restore rest to a weary world. My dear ones, never believe your words are powerless simply because your hands remain still. Voices shape hearts, and hearts shape the paths people walk. As the elders say, the tongue may carry no spear, yet whole armies may follow its sound. And when the voice learns gentleness, the heart slowly begins to trust the quiet. What words in your own life have been carrying fear without you realizing their weight? And what kind of world might grow around you if your voice became a shelter instead of a storm? May your words bring wisdom wherever they travel. May your voice become a resting place for weary hearts. And may you always remember that even the softest breath can shape the future of another soul. If this story has rested gently within your spirit, we would be honored if you stayed with us. Subscribe and return whenever you need quiet again, until we gather once more beneath the same wide sky. Walk gently, my dear ones. My dear ones, speak gently, carry peace, and rest in quiet.